What is up, everybody? How we doing? Ice Rice back. I know it's been a little while. Thank you for bearing with me. Hopefully, still got some fans out there, some followers, and again, thanks for staying tuned and waiting for me to come back. I hope everybody was doing well, having a good time, doing the good old life thing, as we call it. There's been a lot going on with MMA between the Frank Mir and Emelianenko fight, between the Bader King Mo fight, the Chael Sonnen and Rampage fight, the Conor McGregor Rampage, the fallout of Tony Ferguson, Khabib again for the fifth time, I think it was. There's just been a lot. So I'm going to kind of hit I jotted down notes, so bear with me and work with me. As of right now, the lineup for UFC is, got my phone out here, we got UFC Fight Night, Maia versus Usman, that's in Chile, that's the 19th, and we got UFC Fight Night, Thompson versus Till, which is in Liverpool, that's the 27th. And then we head to June, which is Rivera versus Moraes. And that's June 1st. That's in New York. Then we got Whitaker and Romero 2 finally. That's in Chicago, and that's June 9th. There's a couple fights on that are going to be pretty good. We got, RDA versus Covington for the interim 170 belt, or as Tyrone calls it, I think he calls it the Wah belt, which fake belt for crybabies. I thought that was pretty funny. And then we got UFC Fight Night, Cowboy versus Edwards, June 23rd. I'm gonna stop there for now, but a lot of exciting good fights coming up. Pretty excited about a lot of the cards. This Maia versus Usman, I think I've went over it a little bit, but not to any extent where I care too much about it. I like Usman. I think he's a great fighter. Fights out of Florida. Has some really good training partners out there. I'm a Floridian, so love my Florida fighters. But Maia, I think he's past his prime. He's a great jiu-jitsu practitioner, but I think he's done. He didn't have the snap that he used to, the tenacity, the killer instinct against Tyrone Woodley, which obviously it's hard to have that against Woodley anyway. He's a beast. And then fighting Covington, he looked good for a bit, and then, his age, I think, caught up with him, his cardio, and he ended up losing the fight. So he's coming back. It's been a long layoff. The last time he fought was versus Covington, and Covington's been taking the world by storm as of late, going out there and just talking a ton of shit. No hate on the guy. I think he's an asshole, but so am I. So he's the type of guy I think I slam down a beer with and have some laughs. I heard that it's all like a facade and an aura. He's just trying to portray somebody almost like a Ric Flair, a Hulk Hogan type deal. The old like WWE, WWF, all that stuff. So I don't know. Let's get into news. We got this past week we had what's her name, Raquel Pennington versus the champ Amanda Nunes, or Amanda Nunes, however you want to say it. That was a rough one. That wasn't fun to watch. Rocky, she was in there, but she wasn't in there. She was completely outclassed in all facets of the fight, in all aspects rather, and it was rough to see, man. There's been a lot of controversy about her coaches forcing her to go in for the fifth round, but listening back, like, watching it again, she said, I'm done, And as a coach, yes, you're supposed to protect your fighter, but also as a coach, you're supposed to be there to pick your fighters up when they don't, they feel like they're done. You ever had a coach, football, basketball, whatever, running suicides? There's always like one left in you. There's always an inch more left in you. There's always one jump. There's always one, brilliant pass. There's always something left in you. I think her coaches were just hoping for maybe a fluke knockout or something like that. If Rocky really didn't feel like going back out there, she could have easily just went in there and tapped out, or she could have just quit. She could have just, waved herself off. I mean, she's a big girl. She's an adult. So at the end of the day, you gotta put, for me, rather, this is how I feel, obviously, but you gotta put blame where blame is due. As a coach, yes, you're supposed to protect your fighter, but could you imagine if they threw in the towel and then a week from now she turns around and she's like, damn, man, like I really had stuff left in me. I wish you guys would have pushed me. There goes that point of, all right, we probably should have pushed you. But then there's also the other, aspect of it where you have to protect your fighters. But at the end of the day, I feel like if I didn't want to keep on going, I would quit. I would just be like, I'm out. How many times have we seen fighters just, like wave it off by themselves? I'm done. So, she could have easily done that, but she went out there and, fought like a warrior and went out on her shield, man. It was rough seeing, but that's the fighter life, man. That's the fighter mentality. You get into it. I mean, how many times has she given up beatings? How many times has she whooped someone's ass that, probably shouldn't keep on going? I mean, she tooled up Miesha Tate, and Miesha Tate was her coach on the Ultimate Fighter. So, I mean, that's when you're, whatchamacallit, you're, people you look up to, your mentors, your idols, become your rivals. And, she has risen to the occasion before, but unfortunately this wasn't one of them. And with that said, we will move on to Mackenzie Dern. Jesus, this girl has tons of potential, has a huge following. She's an incredible jiu-jitsu practitioner, and she just needs to get that weight under control. I mean, 7 pounds, that's like an Anthony Johnson move. Back in the day, Anthony Johnson's been pretty good at 205, or was good at 205 before he retired. But, I mean, that was crazy. It was awesome that, what's her name? Michelle Bobby or something like that? Amanda Bobby? I think it's Amanda Bobby. I don't even know if I have it on my notes. But, I mean, that was great that she took the fight. And people can say, the weight difference, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, they told her that she couldn't go any further, losing weight. They said, if we can do a catch weight, if your opponent agrees to it, then we can do it from there. She agreed to it. They both agreed to it. And I don't really see a problem with it in that aspect, but it's completely unprofessional coming in overweight, and then on top of it, just kind of brushing it off like it wasn't even anything. It completely surprised the crap out of me. And going to your home country, you would think you want to, set a good example to the younger generation coming up, especially the young women of Brazil that look up to her, that follow her. And it was shitty, man. Excuse my language, but it was shitty. A lot of people said that, it's cheating, whatever, the weight difference, blah, 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 whatever. I feel like a fight's a fight. If you can beat someone at 170, why can't you beat them at 155? Or if you beat someone at 170, why can't you beat them at 185? I don't really see the difference anytime I've ever been in a fight. I've never lost and been like, oh, it's because you're 10 pounds more than me. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. If you're a 155 pounder and you're fighting a 185 pounder, fine, I get it. But if you're 155 pounds and you're fighting someone 157, well, I guess it would be she was 7 pounds over, so 162. I don't think you're hitting any harder or grappling any better or trying to rip my arm off in jiu-jitsu any more than you would at 115 pounds is where she's fighting. But if you watch the fight, I mean, she dropped her with I believe it was a right hand. So before she even sunk in the choke, she slapped her with a right hand, I believe it was, and dropped her. So I don't really know where the weight comes in handy, or I guess plays a role, but whatever, to each their own. I think it was completely unprofessional, and she has sworn up and down that it'll never happen again, but this is the 4th time, I believe it was, in her history, and she only has like 7 fights. So she did make it on her first fight in the UFC. She made 115 pounds, so it is doable. I think she just needs to watch her weight. I think some things played into it, being that she left her camp. Well, she was asked nicely to leave her camp. She's kind of all over the place. She was in California. Now she's in, I think, Vegas, training with the UFC Institute, which is another crazy thing. So I think she just needs to find stability. And if she's going to fight at 115 pounds, you can't be walking around at 140 or 135, whatever she walks around at, especially if your past shows that you're not making the weight properly and it's not healthy. So I think she needs to find stability, and she needs to get a good coach in there, a good dietitian, and I think she'll be all right after that. I think she's good at 115. She has a lot to learn, and she's definitely raw, but she's got all the makings of a good, fun, fighter to watch. So I don't know. I don't want to see her to move up to 125. I think she would get beasted at 125 at the moment. There's a lot of good girls up there. Actually, that'd be fun watching her and Joanna go at it, because you never really see Joanna off her back or anything like that, so that'd be fun to watch. But anyway, moving on. We got the Sean O'Malley versus Brian Keller beef. That was crazy. I guess they've had something going on for a little bit, and Brian Keller had just got knocked out by John Lineker, which is no schlub. I think he's number 4 or 5 in the 130 pound, I think it's 135 pound division, and he was coming off of a win from Renan Barao, which fucking beast. He used to be a champ. He hasn't looked the same since losing his belt, but I mean, at the end of the day, you can't take it away from him. The dude was unbeaten for like 10 years or something like that. So Brian Keller had, a nice little following coming after that Barao fight, and then he was a beast going up against John Lineker. Lineker's a stud, man. I think one of his only losses in the UFC is to the champ, TJ Dillashaw. Other than that, he's been beasting people, knocking everybody out. So, it's not taking anything away from Brian Keller. I mean, everybody's pretty much been knocked out by Lineker. So I guess Sean O'Malley's been talking smack, and then they're going back and forth. But Brian Keller brought up a pretty good, in my mind, point. He said that Sean O'Malley's UFC protected. He's being babied by the UFC. He's being handed and hand-picked opponents, which, he's only fought in the UFC, I think, twice, other than the Dana White looking for a fight, I believe it was, or the Tuesday Night Warrior, or whatever the hell it's called. Dana White's got like 15 shows out there. So, I don't know if he's having people hand-picked. I think he's been calling out a lot of people, and it'd be nice to see him kind of break into that top, 15, maybe top 20, because I don't even think he's there yet. I think he might be in, the top 35, top 40. He's just, putting his toe in the water, testing it out, and seeing what's out there. But I think that's a fight that needs to be made. I think it'd be awesome. Brian Keller versus Sean O'Malley. I think Sean O'Malley's a beast. He's a young, up-and-coming, thirsty, hungry beast, man. So feed him. He thinks he can whoop up on Brian Keller? Give him Brian Keller. I'd watch it, and I think most of MMA fans would watch it. So serve him up, put it on a platter. No more UFC protected or hand-picked fighters. You're gonna pick a fight, might as well get in the fight. So let's do that, UFC. Shout out. Let's see what else we got. Chuck Liddell. All right, so he put his gloves, his fists back in the pool of getting tested and everything by I guess USADA, and before USADA, even that, he has to get okayed by the commission. They said they see no reason why he wouldn't get okayed because, it's Chuck Liddell. He's been a professional athlete his whole life. He keeps himself in good shape. Last time they showed a picture of him, he looked in better shape than he was in the UFC as of his last couple of fights. Can't fix a glass jaw, but he was a beast in his day. But he called out John Jones. Of all people, John Jones is the pound-for-pound best fighter ever. Better than Anderson Silva, better than GSP, better than, Mighty Mouse. And the only reason I say that is because he's a killer. He finishes fights. He's a beast. He dominates. He's incredible to watch. It's been a pleasure watching him the last, I guess it'd be 8 years he's been in the UFC, I believe. So, it's just, you don't walk into a lion's den and walk up and smack the biggest lion you can find, or, punch a bear in the face and then expect to just stand there and not get mauled. So I think Chuck needs to relax, realize that his better days are behind him, and move on. Move on to his shitty fights, like the possible Tito Ortiz third fight. Who wants to watch that? People are going to watch it because it's on, and it's going to be free in Bellator, which is sad to see, Chuck Liddell fighting in Bellator, but, it's, who said it, Vitor Belfort. Make a league called the League, the Legends League, or League of Legends, which is pretty much just old people that used to be great fighting to see whose chin lasts throughout the years. But I don't want to see Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell 3. Liddell won the first 2, and I believe he knocked him out the first one and TKO'd him the second one. So the only thing that's going to happen in this one is, I think Tito's in better shape. I think Tito has a better chin now at this moment in time, and I think he'd probably catch Chuck. It's shitty to say because I love Chuck Liddell, but I think he would probably just put himself in harm's way. I think a better fight for him would be Chael Sonnen. Him and Chael have been talking trash. Get in there and fight Chael after this stupid Grand Prix that I don't even know why I'm watching. I think it's the worst thing possible. I haven't, besides Mitrione and Rampage and Ryan Bader, I don't really care about anybody in it. I like Frank Mir, but Frank Mir got knocked out in 57 seconds or 63 seconds or something like that by Emelianenko. And then now Emelianenko's going to fight, who is it? Is it Chael Sonnen? And then Ryan Bader's fighting Matt Mitrione. So, I don't really care. Matt Mitrione fighting Bader. Bader looked good in his last fight, obviously. 15-second knockout of King Bo. Something that not many people have been able to do, except for, I believe it was Newton, when Newton had the belt. Other than that, man, I'm not really looking forward to anything from there. Yeah. Anyway, Chuck Liddell fight Chael Sonnen. That's your best bet, because he's going to try to wrestle you. He doesn't have hands, so he's not going to knock you out. You always say that you're, an amazing wrestler, so prove it. Fight a beast of a wrestler, and see if your chin holds up when he smacks you with a hand. I don't think Chael Sonnen's ever knocked anybody out. So, but whatever. Michael Bisping. I don't know what to say about him. He said he might have already retired. He's not sure. I'd hate to see him go out on a loss like that. Being the champ, quick turnaround, or being the champ, losing it to GSP, then a quick turnaround, getting knocked out by Kevin Gastelum. I just hate to see such a awesome, fun to watch career go out the window with the last loss. Like champ, losing, retired. I get it because of his eye, and he has everything else going for him. I mean, he's a great businessman, great commentator, and he doesn't have to fight anymore. But with that said, I hope he fights. I really do. He's been called out by everybody. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they want to just put the name on their resume. I don't know if they want to just knock him out because they don't like him. I don't really know what it is, but I mean, everybody's called him out. You got Lito Machida, Jorge Masvidal. He said he wants a Diaz fight. Brad Tavares has been calling him out. It's like, I don't know. He said that he wanted to fight, what's his name one more time? Luke Rockhold, but Rockhold, he has his own life too. He doesn't need to fight. He's a model. He's a spokesperson. He's acting. He does whatever the hell he wants to do. He's a good-looking guy, so the world's kind of at his fingertips. But Mike, figure out what you're doing, man. Either retire or take a fight by one of these fuckers that are calling you out. Let's see what we got here. Next, Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic. This is something I've been wanting to touch on just because of the fact that I think it's awesome. I love the fact that Daniel Cormier is coming up with his belt, and obviously it's not on the line, but he's coming back and fighting in a division where he's undefeated. He talked to his best friend. His best friend said, man, go for it. You got a great opportunity. Freaking do it. And I think it's going to be great. You have a great wrestler in Daniel Cormier who has good hands. Obviously, he has good submissions. You've seen him with Anthony Johnson, and then what did he choked out Ozdemir too, I believe. But Daniel Cormier in the heavyweight divisions fought Frank Mir, Roy Nelson. Let's see. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it in the UFC. But other than that, I mean, he was a Strikeforce champion. He was the Grand Prix champion or something like that. He's undefeated for a reason up there. But I think, his rightful home is at 205. And, obviously once this is over, he'll go back there. But Stipe Miocic, man, what can you say about the guy? He's quote-unquote the best heavyweight ever because he has had the UFC belt and defended it more than 3 times, which, I mean, it's not great, it's not incredible, but in the heavyweight division it is. You have a bunch of killers, so to see him keep on going and always have a great game plan, know what to do, and how to figure the puzzle out of his opponent is pretty incredible. He's beaten pretty much everybody in the heavyweight division. Joey Beltran, Phil DeFries, Shane Del Rosario, Roy Nelson, Gabriel Gonzaga, Fabricio Verdun, Mark Hunt, Andre Arlovsky, Fabricio Verdun, Fabio Maldonado, Fabricio Verdun, Alistair Overeem, JDS, and now Francis Ngannou. I mean, the guy's literally beat the who's who of the heavyweight division for the last 5-6 years. His only losses are to JDS and Stefan Struve. Stefan Struve lost, it sucked. It was weird to see because you never see him get rocked like that, and then when he does get rocked like that, he usually recovers pretty well. But I think that was his first fight in the UFC. But then the JDS fight, I watched that fight. I didn't really know anything about Stipe at the time, but I thought Stipe won. I don't know, I'm just excited for this fight, man. We'll see what goes down. I think it's going to be a blast to watch, and I have yet to watch the TV show, The Ultimate Fighter, what is it, Undefeated or something like that. but I'm definitely gonna check it out here soon. Other than that, we got let's see, Clay Guida and Nate Diaz. They've been beefing back and forth. I know Clay Guida called out Nate, saying that he wanted to run it back. He wanted to fight him again. Called him a bitch or something like that. And I guess over the weekend they got in an altercation. Diaz apparently shoved Guida from behind into a guardrail and somehow ended up with a split lip. I don't know if he tripped into the guardrail or if they just said guardrail. When I think of a guardrail, I think of that metal thing on the side of the highway. That's a guardrail to me. I don't know if they meant I guess at concerts, those metal guardrails. I guess those are called guardrails. I usually just call them separate the crazies from the rich and powerful singers and actors and all that crap. But I guess it's a guardrail. We'll call it a guardrail. But I guess with his height, Clay Guida being so small, I guess he smashed his lip on it. But I don't know. Diaz has been called out by everybody, so we know it's not going to happen. He doesn't know what he wants to do. He wants to fight McGregor. McGregor's not coming back for a while. He doesn't have any right to fight for the belt, but I think they're pushing for those fights with Tyrone Woodley possibly, and then I guess they're trying to fight GSP, but he said, no, fuck that cheater, blah, 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 doing the usual Diaz thing, and I don't know, man. I don't really give a crap about it anymore. Diaz isn't fun to talk about anymore. It's just a never-ending reel of we don't know what he's going to do. So until he makes a choice to come back or not, deuces, bro. I don't really care. Eddie Alvarez versus Dustin Poirier 2. I don't really care. It's going to be a great fight. The first one was a good fight. Unfortunately, it ended controversially. Eddie was rocked, and then he got Poirier against the fence, threw a good knee, and then threw an illegal knee. And in Eddie's eyes, he said that Poirier quit. He said he could have kept on going, but he quit. Poirier said that he was rocked and he didn't feel comfortable in continuing because it changed the whole fight. And Poirier's been looking really good, man. So is Eddie. Eddie and Poirier just fought Justin Gaethje. Not at the same time, obviously, but, back to back. Gaethje's an animal, but he's a fighter, and he fights with reckless abandonment, man. That guy just swings for the fences and has a blast. I love watching him fight. But unfortunately, he's had back-to-back losses now against Eddie and Dustin. So Eddie and Dustin will fight, and whoever comes out victorious will definitely be in the top 5, top 3 in my mindset of who should be up next for the belt. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good fight, and I look forward to it. This has been kind of bouncing around back and forth, and I kind of agree with this situation. Tony Ferguson and Khabib were supposed to fight for the real belt, right? Tony Ferguson got hurt, but he had a belt. Now, does the UFC take the belt away from him because of the simple fact that he got hurt and injured, or does he still have the interim belt with the real belt for Khabib? I don't think it should have been a championship fight. I mean, he was fighting a realtor, which I hate saying that because what's his name is such a great fighter, but it wasn't a championship caliber fight. It wasn't at all. So is Tony Ferguson the true champ, or is he the interim champ? Is there really no champ? What is it? I think we need to get that figured out. I think the UFC brass has to throw down on it, and because it's not right to take away Tony's belt just because he got injured. How many times have we seen fighters get injured and they don't get their belts taken away? There's usually an interim belt. So, I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out eventually. Back to Colby Covington. Besides drinking a beer with him, I guess he was talking smack about John Jones, just like a Chuck Liddell situation, and Joe Rogan called him out on it and was like, dude, don't, be careful, you might get smacked. And Kobe Covington turned around and said, hey, you might be at commentating on my Chicago fight, so you might want to be careful, you might get smacked, saying that he's going to smack Joe Rogan. And, besides the fact that it's illegal and he would lose his job in the UFC, I think that would be hilarious. I think Joe Rogan would fucking spin and back kick him right in the head, beat the crap out of him right there. A lot of people don't know this, but Joe Rogan's a beast, man. He's a true martial artist. He used to fight back in the day. He used to be a Taekwondo champion. The guy's an animal, and a lot of people don't know that about him. But I think it'd be funny for if his job wasn't on the line, for him to smack Joe Rogan, so Joe Rogan could just beat the crap out of him right there in the middle of the ring. But with that said, man, I'm excited about the upcoming months. We have a lot of good fights coming up, and I'll touch more on those with the especially we got the Usman fight coming up. What's that? Tomorrow? No, Saturday. Of course, it's Saturday. The 19th, and then the Thompson and Till fight. Oh, I'm so excited about that. I'm definitely gonna have another podcast or episode, whatever you want to call it, about that in full length. So with that said, cheers, people. Thanks for paying attention, and like always, if you ever want to chat, if you want to hit me up, if you want to do a podcast together, if you want to do an episode rather together, if you just want to shoot the shit and do a video, hit me up. And if you have any questions, comments, constructive criticism, or you want me to talk about something specific, hit me up. I'm always down for kind of branching out a little bit and talking some trash. So yeah, cheers to you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to hearing your comments. If it's not constructive, then shut up. I don't give a crap. This is just my opinions and the facts. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.